Is Scottish football back? Some incredible things have happened in Scottish football over the last couple of years that have really put it on the map again, worldwide and domestically within the rest of the UK as well. I will be taking you through some of the best things to have happened in Scottish football over the last year or so in this video, all the way from the non-league teams all the way up to what you would expect to be the biggest stories in Scottish football this season. It's fantastic to see it getting put back on the map through things like Rangers in Europe, through Celtic doing so well, through their new Japanese players and Australian manager, and all the non-league stories, the new promotions, and how well the promoted teams have done in the SPFL. It's incredible to see where Scottish football is right now, and I think there's a huge appetite for it, and a huge appetite for Scottish content as well. I'm seeing it through you guys, and you absolutely love it, so a massive, massive thank you for the support, as per usual. Talking of support, I hope you can see it from that angle. The play button has arrived. The 100k plaque has arrived. A huge thank you, honestly, from the bottom of my heart. I couldn't do it without you. Of course, my Kelty shirt, the signed Kelty Champions shirt, is right next to me as well. Which one do you prefer? Would you rather have the plaque in your house, or would you rather have the Kelty shirt? For me, it's a tight one. I can't really decide, but let me know in the comment section below. But in all seriousness, a huge, huge thank you for the support. I wouldn't be where I am without your support. So, getting into the video, what do I think has been the best parts of Scottish football in the last year? So, starting at the very bottom, we'll be going through a lot of the stories of Scottish football, as I said earlier, but starting from the bottom, the non-leagues, the West of Scotland Football League is one that I've probably been involved with. It's been one of the most frequent sort of things I've spoken about in terms of non-league football this season, and it's been fantastic to see it go down the wire in the way it has, especially at the top of the table. Darvel and Auchinleck Talbot, it went down to the last few games of the season, but there were some other fantastic teams in there like Pollock, Clydebank, Kilwinning Rangers and Hurlford, who all sort of pushed it close in the end and who all did really, really well. There's a big restructure coming in the West of Scotland League. I think 8 get relegated or 7 get relegated from the Premier Division, and only a few come up, so that'll balance the leagues below it a little bit. But there's still a lot of work that needs to be done in the pyramid. We know that. I've spoken about that a lot. It needs to be opened up a lot more. But you look at the quality of football that is in Scotland's 6th tier. I think Auchinleck Talbot won a cup final just a couple of days ago against Bonnyrigg Rose, who have just been promoted from the Lowland League to the SPFL. Bonnyrigg Rose are now essentially a League 2 team, but they lost against this 6th tier team, Auchinleck Talbot, in a recent cup final. Auchinleck Talbot also beat Hamilton in the cup this season, who were championship, and were the season before they were in the Premiership. So there's some real quality in the 6th tier of Scottish football. The East of Scotland League as well, don't forget that. There's some great teams in that. There was a fantastic title push this season in that league as well. There is honestly some phenomenal non-leagues in Scotland, none more so than, like I say, the 6th tier, the West and the East of Scotland leagues. But what about the 5th tier? Moving on to the Highland League. The Highland League, on again, another fantastic league. You just have to look at some of the goal differences. Look at that, some of the goals scored, some of the goals against in this league, to know that it's an exciting league. Really sad for Fort William. They've had a tough time on and off the pitch with trying to get their pitch sorted, funnily enough. But look, 1 win for them this season, minus 100 goal difference. But if you look right at the top of the league, look at that. Fraserburgh and Bucky Thistle, over 100 goal difference each. Look at the amount of goals they've scored, 135 and 127 respectively, in just 34 league games. If you are anywhere near the Highlands of Scotland and you like football and you've never seen a Highland League game, you are missing out on tackles. You're missing out on what I imagine football was like decades ago, when there was less, I guess the refereeing in place now is to protect the players, but in the Highland League there are some serious tackles that fly in, but also goals and excitement as well. Like, I genuinely don't think you can beat the Highland League for excitement. If you look at all the different leagues in Scotland, it is honestly phenomenal. Bucky and Fraserburgh should also be really proud of how far they came this season. Fraserburgh, they won the league, but sadly were unable to beat Bonnyrigg Rose in the playoffs, so they won't be going up. Again, restructuring needs to happen. You can't have these fantastic leagues have champions but not go up. I think that's the last 3 or 4 years now where the champions of the Highland League haven't gone up. the only champions of the Highland League ever to go up with Cove, so it doesn't look good if you win it. The chances of you going up aren't that high. Brechin, they're a good historic side who couldn't even go straight back up when they got relegated from the SPFL. That just goes to show what a strong league the Highland League is. Bonnyrigg Rangers, they'd won it the last couple of years. They finished 3rd or 4th. They were in the reckoning for a top place finish at some point during the season. So a really, really exciting title race, which ultimately ended up in Fraserburgh winning it, but missing out on the promotion playoffs. And the final point on the non-leagues before we move on to the SPFL is the Lowland League, a league that I have covered a lot on this channel. I really, really enjoy the Lowland League. The inclusion of Rangers and Celtic have spiced things up a little bit this year in the Lowland League. I know there's people against it, there's people for it, so whether you're for or against it, it's brought a few crowds in, it's brought a few more eyeballs to the league, that is for certain. Our Hearts to join next year, there's murmurings that they might. I'm not sure if the news has been confirmed yet. If you know any differently, let me know in the comments section below. Our Hearts to join the Lowland League, or their B team anyway. And just topping off what has been a phenomenal Lowland League season, Bonnyrigg Rose. I think a lot of people were expecting either Celtic or Rangers to win the Lowland League, but Bonnyrigg Rose did really, really well in the end to not allow the old firm clubs to do that. They went and won the league. They did really, really well. They were an incredibly well-run club. They don't just throw money at things, which has been some of the criticism of some other sort of non-league teams in recent years. But yeah, Bonnyrigg Rose, an incredibly well-run club who don't sort of spend outside of their means sort of a thing. Run by lovely people, got lovely fans down there, and they've beaten Cowden Beef to secure their place in the SPFL for the first ever time. From the juniors to the East of Scotland League to the Lowland League to the SPFL, how far can Bonnyrigg Rose go? These are the questions that we now get with this sort of new pyramid system. Again, it's too hard for these teams to come up. The Lowland and the Highland winners have to go up automatically, in my opinion, but that's probably a conversation for another day. It's just brilliant to see where non-league Scottish football is right now. Moving on to the SPFL, and the conversation is going to hinge quite heavily around the teams that have come up from the non-league structure in recent years. We've got Kelty Hearts, who of course won League 2 this season. What a day that was to be there for that. The amount of coverage I've done of Kelty and to see them lift the League 2 trophy was just absolutely phenomenal. I know they've had a lot of their success during COVID, so they weren't able to share a lot of it with the fans, so to have that trophy day on the pitch at Kelty was just absolutely phenomenal. Lovely sunny day as well. They obviously came up from the Lowland League the year before, so they went in, won the League 2 straight away, and they'll be in League 1 next season, along with a few Fife rivals in there. It'll really be a spicy league next season, League 1. Speaking of League 1, Cove Rangers, they were the winners of that. As I mentioned earlier, Cove are the only team to have been promoted through the new pyramid system from the Highland League. So fair play to Cove for not just going up, but also, you know, sustaining themselves in the SPFL and winning League 2. I think they did a couple of years ago. They've won League 1 now, and they'll be in the Championship next season. Incredible ambition from the club, and I wish them all the best. And then looking at the other team who came up from the non-leagues in recent years, Edinburgh City. Edinburgh City, they got promoted from League 2 to League 1 in the playoffs. So we got Edinburgh City going up from League 2 through the playoffs. Kelty Hearts won League 2, so they go up, of course, as well. And Cove Rangers won League 1. These three teams are the only three teams to ever be promoted to the SPFL for footballing reasons, like I said. And they're not just surviving, they are thriving. There's a real hunger from these teams to succeed. I think a lot of the teams in the SPFL will have stagnated over the last few decades because of the fact you could never get relegated. It was a closed shop, a Super League, if you will, before this pyramid system came in around 2013. Again, like I've mentioned a few times, it's still incredibly hard to break through into the SPFL. The route is there, but they keep it so locked off that it basically is still a bit of a Super League. They need to open it a little bit more, but yeah, just going back to my other point, I feel like clubs who knew they would never go down stagnated a lot, and they don't have that ambition. But now there's new clubs below them who have a ton of ambition. There's loads in the East of Scotland and the West of Scotland League. There's some in the Highland League. There's some in the Lowland League who are all vying to get in the SPFL. And when they do, they're going to take these chances with both hands, unlike some of the clubs that have been in the SPFL for years and years and years and who don't necessarily want to commit to new signings or to improve their stadium. There's clubs out there that do want to do that, and they are going to be the ones that you see in the SPFL doing really well in the next 10, 20 years. Just before we move into the quote-unquote old firms section, if you will, I just want to give a shout out to all the new sort of ultra groups that are sort of popping up, the young lads who will bring drums along. It does happen in the non-leagues as well, but it's more frequent in the SPFL with the sort of bigger clubs, if you will. But there's so many like cool groups of fans popping up, whether it's Stenhousemuir, Kelty Hearts, Stirling Albion, Edinburgh City have had some, and like I say, there's some non-league ones as well. Who is it? The lads that always want me to come down. Johnston Borough, I think they've got one as well. They always want me to come down. So there's quite a few out there who bring the drums along and stuff like that, and that's really starting to pop up, especially post-COVID, to see the fans going along, young fans as well, and supporting their teams and not just necessarily wanting to go to the big clubs. It's amazing to see, and I love to document that. So any young fans out there, go along and support your local team and get involved with the Ultras, because you're the future of these football clubs. You'll be the ones having kids in 10, 20 years and bringing them to the football. So yeah, make sure you get out there and support your local teams, because it's brilliant to see that level of support at this level of football. So moving on to Celtic and Rangers, and why I believe that actions that they've taken specifically in the last 12 months have really helped to put Scottish football on the map globally. All of what I've spoken about so far is great from a sort of domestic standpoint, I feel like, within Scotland and maybe parts of England and Wales and Ireland and Northern Ireland, who are sort of people who are interested in Scottish football. I think what Celtic and Rangers are doing aren't just increasing the reach domestically, but also in Europe and further afield as well, and let me tell you why. So Celtic and Rangers have had their first proper title race in over a decade. Of course, the season before this one, Rangers won it at a canter, and the previous 9 before that, Celtic won it. And then you'd have to look back from before that, of course, when Rangers were still in the divisions for like a proper sort of title challenge, if you will. So there's a huge amount of people out there, young football fans, 10, 11, 12, even maybe like 14, 15 years old, who can't remember a proper title race in Scotland. And the fact there's been one this season has only helped to increase the reach of the league globally and the exposure globally. People want to know what's happening. And Celtic as well, talking about their global expansion, of course. 4 Japanese signings, none more have been as important. None of the 4, should I say, have been as important as Kyogo. What a player Kyogo is. He scored so many goals, Kyogo Furuhashi, and whenever he scores, my videos always seem to do well. In Japan, I've done a couple of videos where I'll put Kyogo in the title, and in Japan the views do really well. So I think Celtic have even set up a few social media accounts with Japanese or Celtic Japan or something like that. So they do it in the Japanese language, so people out there can support Celtic from further afield. They'll have got so many supporters due to the signings of their 4 new Japanese players, which is great to see. And also their Australian contingent as well. I know Tom Rogic had his send-off the other day, but the fact that Ange Postecoglou's in now, that has brought a load of viewers over from Celtic who now, from Australia, who now have a huge interest in what Celtic are doing. Moving on from Celtic to Rangers now. Rangers' incredible run in the Europa League would have really helped to put Scottish football on the map in Europe. Rangers also won their first cup as well, so I feel like domestically they've had a bit of success, but in Europe, of course, the amount of eyeballs they've got. They beat Dortmund, they beat Red Bull Leipzig, they beat Braga again, they beat Sparta Prague, they beat Brøndby. They just came up short, of course, against Frankfurt, but all these teams that would have come to Ibrox, and the atmospheres and the amount of views that my videos got, let alone the highlights and everything like that, people would have been hugely interested to see how this team from Scotland would have risen from the bottom of the pyramid to, or not quite the pyramid, they didn't quite start in the non-leagues, but bottom of the SPFL anyway, League 2, they had to start at the bottom of there to get back to a European final in the way that they did. There'd have been thousands, maybe millions of people around the world who would have engaged in Rangers content online and would have been interested to see how they got on, and the trickle-down effect would be huge. Maybe someone would have seen my video from abroad, and then they get to watch the Kelty video after that gets in their recommended, or a Kilmarnock video or something. So the fact that Rangers got to the Europa League final, I think, really helps Scottish football overall. And don't even get me started on the coefficients. It's brilliant to see how well Rangers have done in Europe, which of course helps the rest of Scottish football through the coefficients as well, but that's a conversation for another day completely. People from all over the world watch my videos, and it's amazing to see the comments. I know there's I think 1 or 2 people from Canada who always comment and say they like watching up on the SPFL stuff, and the same in Australia and America, and all different countries around the world are interested in Scottish football, and it's amazing to see. Like, I love looking at the analytics and seeing where people are watching from. So if you're watching from abroad, let everybody know in the comments section where you're from. Where are you watching this from? And why do you have such an interest in Scottish football? I'd love to hear it. And a huge thank you for watching. Yeah, cheers wherever you're from. G'day or howdy or whatever. Thanks, appreciate the support. It's not just club football though, where there's been so many strides forward and so many great stories. Just look at how well the Scottish national team has done over the last few years. They have really restored the pride in the nation for the national football team. Steve Clarke has done an incredible job. He's brought a formation and a style of play that really suits Scotland. Of course, they qualified for the Euros. I think that first game against the Czech Republic really hampered things, didn't it? I think they could have gone for it a little bit more in that one, could have got something from that game, but once they lost that, they were always chasing, and to get anything from England was always going to be hard at Wembley. The point was good, but then Croatia, of course, we know what a good side Croatia are. But just to be at the first tournament in decades was absolutely fantastic, and the buzz around the country was incredible. Shame that it was during COVID, of course. God, I don't feel like we could have enjoyed it as much. I didn't quite enjoy it. England got to the final, and it was just so stressful trying to plan things and trying to book stuff and vaccines and all that. You know how it was during COVID. Like, I know we're still during COVID now a little bit, but it was a lot stricter back then, and it was just a bit of a nightmare. But they are now obviously a few games away from qualification for the World Cup of Scotland, and yeah, it would just be some story if Scotland can qualify for Qatar. And Steve Clarke, again, what a job he's done. He's brought so much pride back to the nation with this football team. You just look at some of the young stars that are coming through. McTominay's 25, Tierney's 24, Gilmore's 20, Hickey's 19. You got Nathan Patterson, who's 20, of course, Alex Lowry and Liam King, who are coming through at Rangers at the moment. And on top of these, like, young lads who are coming through, some of these younger players who are going to mature over the next few years together as this team, you're going to have some incredible experienced heads in there as well. Look at Andy Robertson. I think he's 28 right now. So even as a defender these days, you can play at the highest level till your mid-30s. So you're going to have that experience, the experience of Tierney and McTominay as they get a little bit older. And you got the quality is going to come out of Gilmore a lot more if he can get a few more games somewhere, if he goes back out on loan or starts to play a little bit more for Chelsea. And Patterson at Everton, I'd love to see him getting a bit more of a chance to start in the Premier League as well. So some incredibly talented young players and some really good experienced ones who are going to get better with age as well. It's exciting times for Scotland's national team, and I would love to see Scotland at every single tournament. Your fans and everything like that, like, genuinely, I think it's a better place having Scotland in tournaments than not having them at all. I feel incredibly lucky to have been able to cover Scottish football in this period of time that I have. I'm still going to continue to do it, don't get me wrong, but to see it in its sort of post-COVID bounce, to see all these young fan groups turning up with their drums, to see Steve Clarke doing so well with the national team, to see Rangers do so well in Europe, to see a really good title race that went almost down to the wire in the Premiership, and to see the Japanese and the Australian Revolution at Celtic, and to see Kelty Hearts do so well, and Cove and Edinburgh City, and Bonnyrigg Rose come up, and Fraserburgh win the league. It's really, really exciting times for Scottish football. I know there is still more to be done. In my eyes, the pyramid system isn't perfect. The league structure isn't that good, I don't think. But all these things aside, I think it's a fantastic time to be involved with Scottish football. Let me know your thoughts on some of the points I've mentioned on this video in the comment section below. What have been your kind of shining lights of the season, and what are you most excited about as fans of the game in Scotland? How can you see the game progressing in this country? How can you see that it's already progressed already in the last few years? I would love to hear your thoughts on it in the comment section below. And a massive thanks again for all the support. That plaque up there means the world to me, as does my signed Kelty shirt. But yeah, I couldn't do any of these things without the support of you guys. And I tweeted out about it today. I did an Insta post as well. And I always say it's a team effort on this channel. Some of my greatest viewed videos have come through your ideas. People telling me to go to Cafkin Park when I didn't know it existed. People telling me to go to this stadium or that stadium, come to this game or whatever. So yeah, I really do appreciate all the support and all the knowledge that you guys give me. When I don't know stuff, I ask you guys and instantly it's in the comment section below. So yeah, huge thank you. From the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate the support, and that plaque up there is just as much down to you as it is to me. So a massive thanks. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe if you're new. There's some videos on screen right now. If you could click on one to carry on watching, that'd be incredible. Cheers, and I'll see you in the next one.